history of solution-focused brief therapy that actually led to the development of solution-focused brief therapy is the idea of identifying exceptions in your client. Those times when the problem does not exist, or the problem exists with less intensity, or when the client is overcoming the problem and understanding the client's strengths and resources used to create the exception and the resources. But I want to say something today that would be like a tip to help you identify client resources. And one of the things that as therapists we have to do that's sometimes difficult or uncomfortable for us is we have to be aware of our own personal privilege in our background in order to listen to the strengths, resources, and capabilities and exceptions in our clients' lives. And I learned this lesson early on in my career, and it's helped me become a better solution-focused therapist, helped me become a more compassionate person, helped me become more understanding. But I mean, I don't have the best background, but I had a much more privileged upbringing than some people I meet as a psychotherapist. And let me tell you why that's important. So my very first job when I got my bachelor's degree was I was leading groups for kids who had gotten out of youth prison. So the organization was a place, like when you got released from being in youth prison here in Texas, they refer to it as TYC, Texas Youth Commission, which is basically prison. And you turned 18 and you got released back to the community, you would spend some time in a halfway house that was managed by caseworkers and bachelor's level people. And that's what I was. And my job was to run a group with these kids every week. Now, it was run by a curriculum, so I had this curriculum that I had to follow. And every single week, the first thing we would do was we would review progress with the kids. We would review progress with the young men and women that were in the group. And I remember, like, I would ask them to start off the group following this curriculum. This is years before I had ever heard about solution-focused brief therapy, or I didn't even know that I would one day get a master's degree in counseling and any of that stuff. We would just start the group off by asking, what's been going well this week? And very often, some of the people in the group would say, I didn't get arrested this week. And I would think, like, so? Like, a lot of people didn't get arrested this week. Like, how's that a big deal? And it took me a while of those kids saying that to realize for them, that's actually a big deal. The background they come from, the habits that they had, these kids not getting arrested was a big deal. So for me, it wasn't a big deal because I successfully don't get arrested all the time. But these kids not getting arrested was like a major accomplishment in their lives. And a lot of times when we're working with clients, the client says something that to them is a big deal, but we may not realize it's a big deal because in our lives it's normal. And I think it's important to recognize our own position of privilege in understanding that sometimes we're working with people who don't come from that background. So when someone says something like, I woke up this morning, if I say, so what's been going well in the past week? And they say, I got up this morning and I, got to work. To some people, that's a major accomplishment because they've been fighting with depression or anxiety their whole life or whatever. Just because I don't have an issue getting up and going to work, it's a major deal. And that was a huge lesson I learned, and I've carried it with me this whole time. And I think if we're going to use our solution-focused ears, if we're going to listen really closely for clients' strengths, resiliencies, and exceptions, part of that journey begins with being aware of our own position of privilege. And sometimes we're having conversations with clients who haven't come from the most positive background, so their strengths and abilities may look different than ours and may show up in their life in ways that don't sound like strengths, skills, and abilities, but actually they're tremendous accomplishments and skills. So I hope you're able to carry this lesson along with you as well. So thanks for watching. Give me a like, share, and a comment, and I'll see you next week.
Bye.